Inspiration, clarity, confidence, and wholehearted business strategy. Welcome to Your Next Chapter, the podcast especially for women in their 40s and beyond who know that business and personal development go hand in hand. Tune in each week for marketing, mindset, and personal growth strategies, along with inspiring stories from women around the world who are creating new businesses and lives that are personally fulfilling and financially rewarding. If you're looking to create a business and life you love, you're in great company. Let's find out what will unfold in your next chapter. I'm your host, Angela Rasmus, and I'm so delighted that you're here. Hey there, it's Angela, and thanks for joining me on the Your Next Chapter podcast. Now, this week I've got this really interesting wholehearted conversation to share with you with Caroline Silk, who is a mindset nutritionist in Melbourne in Australia. Now, the reason it's so interesting is because two separate sides of the conversation blend together for the same reasons. On one side, we've got this fabulous story of how Caroline decided to follow what was really calling her in terms of the career, or rather the business that she wanted to create, and what she had to overcome herself in taking herself from where she was to where she wanted to be. This whole journey into a next chapter. And some of the hiccups that went along the way and the expectations that Caroline had of herself. Then dovetailing right alongside that is the work that she does with her own clients in the nutrition field. Now, you would have picked up, I describe Caroline as a mindset nutritionist. Yes, she has all those qualifications about how to let you know what to eat and when and how, but she recognized that there was a missing piece. That no matter how well some people were eating and taking care of themselves, it wasn't actually coming out to the weight loss and the nutrition goals that they had set, because there was that missing piece, the mindset piece. And here's where the two dovetail together. Caroline's own lessons in how to step into a business that fits her, and also the lesson of how to help her own clients and women step into a new nutrition and lifestyle that fits them. Those were where the two pieces came together. And it's really interesting sometimes how we teach what it is that we need to learn ourselves. And Caroline shares some brilliant insights into how she had to work on the shoulds and the musts and the telling herself how things were meant to be. And when she let go of that and actually found that piece of inside your own head of what it is that's possible for you, well, that's when everything fell into place. So this is one of those really juicy conversations. I hope you enjoy it, and let's dive in, shall we? Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to episode 26 of the Your Next Chapter podcast. This is Angela Rasmus, and thanks so much for choosing to spend your time with me today. And I have an exciting guest to talk to you about this week and to have this wholehearted conversation with. Her name is Caroline Silk, and she's a mindset nutritionist. And the great news here is that Caroline's going to be talking to us about a whole host of things, including her own business and how she brought her business online, but also some fantastic insights for those of us who cannot stand fad diets and quick fixes, but really want to have a better sort of control and approach to how we are nourishing our own bodies and the role that our mindset plays in making that successful. So Caroline, thank you so much for spending your time here with us today.
Thank you, Angela. Lovely to be here.
Excellent. Well, I love starting these conversations with digging in and finding out how this particular business that you're involved in now is a next chapter for you. So can you give us a little bit of background on what's brought you to this point in your business life?
Yes, I'd love to. I think my background was originally sort of post-university and all those sorts of things. As the young adult was marketing and advertising. I was in the advertising industry for about 14 years. And I did the kid thing and had 3 beautiful boys and just found that it was not conducive to family work-life balance. And the hours were very demanding, clients were very demanding, and I was sort of really rushing from post to post. So a mentor gave me some advice one day and suggested that if I was going to spend the next 20 years of my life working, which I really enjoy incorporating work into my life, that I may as well be doing something I was passionate about. And interestingly, I then probably spent 6 months battling what I was passionate about, and then realised that it's not so much passion, but something that just always I was interested in and kept going back and wanting to learn more. And for me, that was nutrition. So I took myself back to uni and did a postgrad degree in nutrition here in Melbourne. And that's how I entered my next chapter, which was a complete reverse role from selling Cadbury and Schweppes online to requesting people maybe not have Cadbury and Schweppes as part of daily consumption.
Very much a turnaround there. But I really like the observation that you made there, what you were battling with, or using those words, battling with what it was that really lit you up and you were passionate about, and then recognize it was actually a little bit simpler with that. Do you agree that a lot of people, or you found a lot of people are finding it difficult to, what is my grand purpose? And sometimes we think it's got to be absolutely huge or, life changing, as opposed to just following the breadcrumbs of what it is that calls our interest and our attention.
Absolutely. I really did get caught up in that whole idea of passion and purpose. And I was sort of waiting for this light bulb moment to come to me and go, wow, this is the path that you're going to follow. And as a result, I was just kept hitting brick walls because nothing was sort of really turning that light on to what I was expecting it to be. And then someone else said to me, just give yourself a break. It's not necessarily that it's going to be this huge light bulb moment. It's more something, as you say, the breadcrumbs, which leads you to something which eventually turns on that light bulb. And for me, how they described it to me was, what is something that you just keep going back to? What is something that you want to learn more about? What is something that every time you see a headline about this topic sort of lights you up and you want to read more and learn more? And for me, it was the whole nutrition, healthy food thing. So that's how I found it. And then all of a sudden, once I sort of started picking up those breadcrumbs, it led me to where I am today.
I love that idea of what are the headlines that grab you.
Mm,
I hadn't looked at it from that perspective before, but I think we could all relate to that. Is, I can pick up a newspaper and I know that what I'm reading is very different to what my husband would be reading, for example. And
absolutely.
if I just take that a little bit further, then yeah, that's a breadcrumb that I could certainly be following.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it that you enjoy most about the type of work that you're doing today?
Well, even with today, I mean, essentially there's the work that I'm doing now versus the work that I did immediately after my degree is quite different. And so what I love today is that I'm working with women and the very occasional men, but predominantly with women. And the work that I do in my one-on-one program provides this transformation for them and gives them an aha moment and clarity of mind, which then allows them to become fit and healthy. And as you said in the intro, this is not about diets. I don't believe in them. They don't work. We know from research that they don't work. We know that it's only a very small amount of the population can keep their weight off after 12 months. So it's about getting these women and their heads in the right place so that they can go on and be fit and fabulous and spend their time and energy doing things that they love, instead of worrying or battling about and struggling with their time and energy of food.
So it's interesting hearing there that it sounds as though there was a shift from when you first graduated and were going into the nutrition world, and then am I right in thinking that you realised there was this missing piece that, as you're saying, diets don't work per se, but so there must have been a piece there that you came across and realised that the mindset piece was far more important, or equally so, or more important than the actual information that we receive.
Absolutely. What I found was that, as these women came and sat in my office and sat on my couch and, were in a position and open to becoming healthier versions of themselves, I could tell them what to eat. I could guide them right through all those nutritional strategies. I can tell them how to move their bodies and share with them, the things that are going to work for them. But what I found was if their head wasn't in the right place, after 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, eventually that motivation that got them there in the first place would fall by the wayside. And it's kind of like a gym membership. You sign up to gym on your New Year's resolution that you're going to become fit and fabulous, and you might go for January and February, but by October and November, you're just donating your monthly wage to the gym, and they're gladly accepting it. So there's this sort of out of sync that happens. And I found myself getting frustrated because I thought, oh my God, there's something missing. yes, the food, I get all the food and the exercise. And usually, and what I heard time and time again from my clients was they'd sit on my couch, these are smart, intelligent women, and they'd say to me, I know what I should be doing, but I just can't do it. So something in their head is stopping them. So what I did was I started investigating that whole mindset arena, and I eventually became certified in a course which revolves around positive psychology and change behaviour techniques, which does exactly that. It just opens up their mind, changes their mindset, beliefs and focus, so that the dropping the weight and kilos becomes easy and effortless, essentially.
Is it safe to say that, I mean, mindset is a topic that comes up time and time again? You know, several other people that I've been speaking to on the Next Chapter podcast talk about the immense part, the immense piece that mindset plays in the development of anything, whether it be actually creating your business or just reaching your goals in general. So obviously I can see how it's a very important piece when it comes to working in the nutrition field. But let's take out the lens a little bit wider. What role has creating that positive psychology framework and even adjusting your own mindset played in your business growth and you actually taking your business online and the struggles that you might have faced there?
Well, that question brings a smile to my face, because often I found, I don't always practice what I preach. So I might be telling my client one thing and then I'm doing something completely different. When I decided to take my business online was at the beginning of 2014, and up until then, and I continue to do so now, is I have my one-on-one clients, but that's a face-to-face situation. And I realised that I wanted to reach out to more clients and just go out. I knew what I was doing was having fabulous results and wonderful transformations, and I wanted to reach more clients. But I found that the online business was the way to go. But in terms of mindset, I sort of went in head first and was all systems go. But then I found that I sort of actually found myself in a complete state of overwhelm, because it's such an enormous arena and there are so many players now telling you what to do and how to do it. And so the learning curve was ridiculously steep, and oftentimes I felt like I was on this emotional roller coaster. And you're also feeling very alone, because at this stage of the business it was just me and the computer, and mindset, my mind played havoc many a time, and I felt those feelings of overwhelm and thinking it was all too hard. And so I was feeling that myself, and on the one hand I'm telling my client that this is how to feel, so I knew how I should be feeling, but it didn't always happen.
It's interesting, that idea of knowing how you should be feeling. Let's just explore that a little bit, because I've definitely heard the expression, and I've spoken about it to my own clients as well, is that we have this tendency to should all over ourselves when we're moving into a new direction. So how did you think that you should be feeling or approaching, starting and growing a business? What was going on for you there?
I think I should have been, there you go, there's the word should again. I think I had an expectation on myself that it would happen relatively quickly, without a great deal of difficulty. I suppose all of that thing, and then when I found that it wasn't that easy, and that it was often quite isolating, and it was very hard, it was kind of a bit of a shock to the system. And I think that, made me, I know in those early months, probably the first really 18 months, I got to a point of overwhelm, and, it all got too hard, and I just had to then come to the realisation that, Caroline, give yourself a break, sit back, take a umbrella view, and look at where you've come to, look what you've done, look what you've achieved. I think I was racing against myself, and I don't quite know how that happened, but I think what happens in that online world, in that business sense, when you're starting a new business, as I said earlier, there's so much there available to you, and so many people telling you how to do it and how it should be done and what time frame and to earn what amount of money, et cetera, that you get caught up in this wave. It's sort of like the undertow of, when a wave goes back and it pulls you out, and sometimes could suck you under. So you've just got to be very careful.
So what did you find was most effective for you in terms of moving through those feelings of overwhelm? You said you gave yourself a bit of a break and pulled back and had that umbrella view. So what sort of mindset approaches or philosophies, apart from the self-talk or perhaps incorporating the self-talk, did you find most effective that someone listening now who finds themselves in that same place, because I certainly hear the word overwhelm a lot, what advice have you got there for the mindset tools that we could adopt?
Well, I think it would be a couple of things. I think the self-talk is very important. I think the first thing you need to do is stop and breathe, and lots of deep breaths. It's essential that you can get yourself into that relaxed state so that you are thinking more clearly and more focused. And often you need to remove yourself from the situation. So take some time out to give yourself that space and enable yourself to sort of refresh. I think it's very important to talk to people. I think there are people available. Having a support group is incredibly important. In those early stages, I found a couple of people online in the various groups, business groups that I ran, that when you put your hand up and sort of said help, they came and helped you, and that just gave you insight into realising that you're not alone and people are on the similar journey to you, and I think that's very important. Further down the track I met you, which has been fabulous, but also that concept of probably the biggest mindset thing I believe is just being true and authentic to me. So realising that I didn't need to compete or with anyone else, that I could do it at my pace. And if I was speaking the way I wanted to speak online and I was sharing my thoughts and strategies in the words that I wanted to use rather than what was expected of you, then I think that made a big difference. And it was just getting out of my own way.
That's actually an expression, that one, getting out of my own way, that I've heard a lot, and I'd love to hear your definition of that. What does that mean to you? I got out of my own way.
That means to me that if you can visualize this, in front of me is myself standing there with my hands up and just pouring all of this head stuff out, and that monkey mind chatter at you, and telling you what you can and can't do, and whether you're not good enough, and that you're not like this or you're not like that. So all that negative mind space is that standing in front of you, just not letting you past. And I visualize as that just getting me standing on the other side a little bit stronger, a little bit more in control, a lot calmer, and just pushing myself out of the way and saying, enough, I've had enough of you, move out of the way. Thank you for sharing that with me, but your time's up. And taking those steps forward. So to me, it's a very visual thing. And that's really just telling myself to get out of my way because I'm coming through.
I love that visual. As you were describing that, I could see that so clearly. See that absolutely clearly. There's just this, this person, or yourself, as you're saying, standing there, hands on hip, legs askance, sort of waggling their finger and giving you a high
Totally.
five. Yeah.
Yep.
And you don't, and I think that person stops us, or that version of ourselves stops us so often. I was actually talking about this concept with a client yesterday, is that idea that you don't have to believe everything you think.
Absolutely.
Just because you have the thought that, oh, this is going to be really hard, and what will people think, and what if it doesn't work, etc., etc. All that chatter that's going on, you can just step aside and recognize it just as they're just thoughts. They're not reality.
I mean, who says change has to be hard? I think we automatically all go into that negative space and think that you mentioned the word change, and therefore you think it's going to be hard and difficult. If you accept that change can be easy, then you've got a completely different mindset going towards it.
So that's a biggie. Redefine the definition of change. Redefine how you see it.
Absolutely. As you say, who says change has to be hard? Why can't it be easy?
It's believing that, and it's also, it's crazy because there's things I tell my clients, but there isn't failure, it's just feedback. So at times when you might think you're failing or whatever, you think, well, you can say the only time there's failure is when you actually give up, when you walk away and you just say enough. But even then that's not failure, because maybe you've made that very learned decision that that's not right for you at this time of your life. But in terms of what I tell my clients, there is no failure. If they have a splurge or do whatever that is working against them, I say just treat it as feedback. So give yourself some space between that and the event. Take a look and say, well, what can I learn from this? How can I do it differently? How can I do it better next time? So that you can just learn and hop back on the path and move on.
That advice, that idea of giving yourself space between the event and taking the learning from there, I think that's another one of those great examples that can be utilised in every situation. But we've got to have that awareness really to allow ourselves that space and to move away from the self-berating and I guess into the self-compassion.
I think the moment you put the space around it and give your space in terms of distance and time from the event, but also that in doing that allows space around your thoughts. And once you have that space around your thoughts, you're clearer and you can make better decisions and choices.
So what if you spoke earlier, which I love, the idea that when you gave yourself permission to be authentically you, to show up the way that you wanted to show up, to speak the way that you wanted to speak, to put the messages out there that were important to you as opposed to, following a trend or what somebody else was doing, that's where you're having more success. Can you talk to that in terms of what was it like before you gave yourself permission to do that and what was it like after? Give us a little bit of a contrast there with the way your business has developed.
Well, we could go chaos versus calm.
I like that contrast. Dig into that one for me.
Chaos versus calm. Okay, so before I gave myself the permission just to do it my way was, as I said, it was overwhelm. There was stress. I remember I'd actually gone away with the family for a beach holiday, and I had set myself up to have this online program ready and going within a couple of months of this holiday. In fact, it was 6 weeks of the holiday or something. And where I was, we didn't have Wi-Fi, and I was just a mess. I was trying to get online. I was dealing with a Melbourne girl who happened to be living in Spain at the time, and I was overwrought. I was causing grief with my family because here I should have been relaxing on a beach somewhere and enjoying our summer, and instead I was just created this little monster. And it was at that point, not long after, that I just went, whoa, just take a step back. What are you doing? Is this how you imagined this online world to be? And do you want to continue to do it in this way? And that's when I put my hand up and said, no, you can. And I must admit, I did have some guidance from as I said, someone I met online, and they just said, take a step back, put some space, work out how you want to do it at a pace that you want to do it, and go from there. And as a result of doing that, do I still get overwhelmed occasionally? Absolutely. Do life throw curveballs at you that mean, because we have families and extended families and all those things that involve with that, does it come into your business and make you have to change or pivot in one direction or the other? Absolutely. But I'm doing that now with acceptance and just taking a deep breath and saying, that's fine. Do it this way. No big deal. It works for me. And if you're speaking like this, it's also working for your clients and the people you're talking to, because essentially they're going for very similar things as you are.
Yeah, that's so likely, isn't it? Because that idea of that we are often our most aligned clients. We are often the people that we're here to help ourselves. Not that long ago. It's just that we've opened a door, we've got a little bit further down the path or whatever the case may be, so we can turn around and help the people that are coming up behind us. And that contrast of the chaos versus calm, there's no doubt if you're in that calm mindset, then that sort of resonance and what you're radiating out to your clients is attractive, and that's what will bring them far more towards you when you're having those conversations.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And you enjoy it. I'm enjoying it. It's a much more enjoyable framework to work in and to speak in and to reach out to people and and meet people. It's a much nicer place to be.
Yeah, so the message really there, that one of those key words that came through as you were talking was the acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think one of the reasons that, or one of the key reasons that women in particular, I was reading another article about this yesterday, why we start our businesses. And it's got a lot to do with that desire for flexibility around the other demands that we have in our life. The other responsibilities that as parents and as daughters and as wives and all the other things that stack up in our lives. Having our own business allows us that flexibility. But if we try and create that framework in a rigid type of way because we're watching how other people do it, then it's going to clash up against those priorities that we need to balance. And it sounds as though you went right into the midst of that chaos and you came out the other side with a different business model that works for you.
Definitely. And even, recently I've had to change what I plan to do in the next 6 months because of circumstances going on in my family life. So, but as you know, it's just an acceptance of what feels right for me at the time and what I know I can deal with and cope with and go forward with. And so it's just accepting that is the way it is, and let's move on with it.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest messages, and for everyone who's listening now, it's that lean into that, take a breath. Really take a breath. Let your breath out. If you've been holding it, try to get all the pieces right. Because this is the core of a next chapter business. It's defining success and how that looks to you. What does success look like to you? It's not always all about the money. Okay, money is definitely a part of the story. We need to be well compensated for the value that we are delivering to the world. But there's other forms of abundance and success as well. It could be an abundance of time, an abundance of space, an abundance of all different sorts of things. So really what we're saying in this conversation is to define what it looks like for you and then design your business to deliver that, not hold yourself up against somebody else's model.
And I think I absolutely know that in the very beginning I was looking at every model that was out there, and that's where I was getting my definition of success from. And I realised you can't go there. And look, there'll be people online that will tell you that, you need to define success for you, and you need to define your business and how you run it for you. And if that is all in alignment, then you are successful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about your particular model, because what you were saying with the type of deep work that you're doing with your clients to help them shift this mindset into a different way of looking at the world so that they can take on and implement and mesh those nutritional approaches. That's a face-to-face type scenario. So is that the heart of your business now?
Yes, at the moment is the heart of my business. I love working with my clients one-on-one. I have an amazing intensive that I do with them called the Renew program, and that's where we do all this mindset work. And I love the transformations, and the beautiful thing about it is that they come to me specifically for weight loss, and this byproduct of doing the program is that they feel, as a result of the mindset work, calmer, probably the 3 words I get all the time: more in control, or just in control, full stop, calmer and confident, which is lovely. And from that, with my online work, I have my online program, which I developed for those people who couldn't do the one-on-one for whatever reason, or just wanted to do it in an online format. So I have a 6-week program there, and I also have a couple of smaller programs which are just really about healthy eating and real food, and spending 14 days resetting your body so that you're feeling fit and fabulous.
And do you find that the women that are coming to you, I understand from the conversations that we've had, it is very similar to the audience that I love to take care of, which is women in their 40s and beyond. Do you find that a lot of us are not prioritising our own care when it comes to nutrition and health?
Oh, I could 100%.
There are a can of worms here.
Yeah, 100% of my women are in exactly the same place, and I am guilty of it too. We are women. We are nurturers and carers, and working women, and successful, and mothers, and we have a whole lot of hats on and a whole lot of roles. And as a result, what happens is, because of the nature of who we are, we spend the majority of our life looking after everyone and everything else. And what happens is, as a result of doing that, and a lot of us have a lot of trouble saying no all the time, we leave ourselves, our health and our waistline on the back burner, because it's easier just to leave yourself to last while you're doing everything else. And, in your 40s and 50s, you're at that point in your life. I mean, yes, when you're in your 30s and your kids are running around and it's all very chaotic and busy, but what I find with my clients is that they have got to a point where they can recognize that that's what they're doing, but they just don't know how to stop it. And that's where the work on the mindset happens. And they're also at a point in their life where they're prepared to, they can breathe a little bit now. The kids are a little bit more dependent, and they can look around and go, you know what, I can actually start to spend some time on me. And that's when they start to focus inwards and go, okay, we need to fix things.
So you were saying that, because I recognise what you're saying. I'm looking at myself and thinking, yeah, this is a familiar story. This is definitely a familiar story. But what you're saying is, okay, we get to this point, we discover that we've been putting ourselves on the back burner, and we come to you for the nutrition and weight loss, but the control, the calm, the confidence that comes with it, those are the things that would have the real ripple effect on the rest of your clients' lives, I would assume.
Absolutely. It's and that's what I love about it. It's that they come back. I did the second day of the program this morning with a beautiful woman, and she came in this morning and she just said, she just had a smile on her face, and she just said, I just feel calm. And this is one very busy lady in terms of her career and her kids, and her life is so busy. I mean, if you had to describe her, she's a busy person, and she just sat on the couch this morning and she said, I just feel so calm. This is fabulous. And I love that. I love what they haven't done is they haven't allowed themselves to feel this way. And when they start to, it's an eye-opener, and it makes them feel really good.
So listening to your description of that, the word that's coming up for me is that you're feeling really fulfilled by the work that you're doing. Would that be a fair description?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I love the work that I do. And, I think, I'm smack bang in that age bracket, as you say, we attract the clients like us. And I think every woman at this stage of our lives deserves to be fit and healthy and happy. And for whatever reasons, lots of the reasons that we've talked about, we're spending their lives running around and looking after everyone and everything else, they are leaving themselves on the back burner when yes, it takes time and energy and change, as I said earlier, to do this process, but it doesn't have to be hard, and the rewards are life-changing. And so that they go, they feel great about themselves, and they say, okay, let's just get out there and have energy and be motivated to do whatever they want to do for the next 30, 40 years.
Yeah, it sounds as though as we come into the end of this conversation that there's really two messages that have been entwining themselves all the way through, and the mindset piece is the part that connects them. I mean, on one side we've got you're looking after everybody else, you've pushed yourself down the priority totem pole, and then you have this wake up moment where it's like, no, it's my turn, and I need to get some help with this so I can be fit, be energetic, to live an energized life as I'm moving forward. But then on the other side, we've also got the making those sort of decisions where you can then, perhaps one of the things you want to do moving forward is create your own business. And by doing that, that's really putting yourself up that priority totem pole again. It's you deciding, I'm going to look and find where are the breadcrumbs, where are the things that are exciting for me that I want to follow. And in both of those scenarios, our mindset, our belief that we can do it, we can actually bring this change into fruition is really going to be at the root of it, isn't it, on both sides?
Definitely. It's absolutely the root of it. And it's once that mindset is in place, that positive mindset in place, whether it be in your health and well-being or whether it be in your next chapter, you can just go forward. Every step is going forward and is empowering you and making you a healthier, happier, more in control person and providing you with what you want. And that's a great place to be.
And I love it. I guess the the image that's going to stick with me as I consider this conversation that we're having is getting yourself off the road. You are the roadblock more often than not, because we can learn strategies. We can go to someone like yourself to help us with our health. We can go to someone like me to help us with our business strategies. We can go and connect with people online who are going through similar types of journeys. All of those skill gaps and asking for help can be arranged. But if we are still standing in the middle of that road saying, this is hard, I can't do this, it's not going to work, etc., then it's just not going to come together. So I love that image. I'm just going to pick myself up and put me on the pavement and just carry on down the middle of the road.
Exactly. I say to my clients, I help you change the way you think, the way you focus, your mindsets, your habits and cravings. But it's up to you to act on those changes. So as you say, you can do all the work with your clients, I can do all the work with my clients, but it's that getting that your own self out of the way and acting upon those positive changes that have been made, and that's going to give you your results.
Without a doubt, we have to take responsibility for our actions. We create what's happening around us, and so if we can take that, as you said, that breath and pause, allow a little bit of that time and space around what's happening, and then see the part that we're playing there, accept what's happening, and then actually decide that change doesn't have to be hard, but we've got to make a decision as to what we want that changed environment or situation to look like. And that's where it comes with defining it on your terms, as you were describing to us before, which you did with your business. So it really is, we can do this. You've got the power to make these changes, but you have to commit to them.
Yes, you do.
Well, let me ask, Caroline, we're going to find out where we can go and find you online for the women who would love to find out more about what it is that you do specifically. But I'd love to know, is there any, you know me, I'm a bit of a book fiend. So when it was going on this mindset journey that you've been on and really bringing this into your business and your life, is there any particular reading or any books that you have seen as having a pivotal role in this evolution for you?
Oh, Angela, you've thrown me this one, haven't you?
I have.
Look, my bedside time reading, and I'm just sitting here in my office and looking at all of my books. I must admit they're all nutrition and food and what are you hungry for? In terms of mindset specifically, no. I follow a couple of fabulous sort of mindful blogs, but there's not a book which is coming to top of mind, I'm afraid.
Oh, that's okay. That one, what are you hungry for? That one sounds interesting, though. I might have
That's a Deepak Chopra one. That's lovely. It's a Deepak Chopra one. And what he's doing is that, as you know, with all of our women, often we are eating emotionally when we're actually not hungry. So it's really an insight into really allowing you to examine your hunger and find out, once you recognise the your physical feelings of hunger, if you're not hungry, what are you hungry for? If you're reaching for food. So it might be that you are lonely, bored, stressed, tired, emotional, frustrated. I mean, we can keep going on and on with all of those emotions that can drive you to the pantry or fridge. And it's all about, as I mentioned earlier, it's all about that whole mindful eating thing, which is a very important part of what I do.
Actually, and that's wonderful. One of the things that or a resource that you provided us with for this particular episode is your mindful eating guidebook. And I was flabbergasted when I heard you describing to me the research behind the idea that just by becoming a mindful eater, you can actually lose weight. You can actually become healthier. And so that particular resource, I encourage everybody to download and dig into this. I certainly am. So to get your hands on this particular resource, you go to angelarasmus.com/26. That's number 26, download, for the mindful eating guide that Caroline has provided us with, which is fantastic. But let's also find out, for everyone who's listening, where can we go online and find you so we can dig down more into the type of work that you do and the resources you have to share?
I'd love you to visit my website, and you can find me at www.carolinesilk.com. And also I have a Facebook group which is called Your Way to Wellness. So I'm sure, Angela, you'll provide the link, but it's www.facebook.com/groups/your way to wellness. And I love this little group of mine. I'm slowly growing, and I'm there with daily support, providing strategies, occasionally giving you a kick up the butt if that's what you need, and sharing what I'm doing. You know, I have things like Mindset Mondays, freebies on Fridays, tips and strategies and momentum, weight loss and wellness. So I love that, and it's slowly building, and slowly the interaction is happening with my people, which is wonderful.
Oh, that's great. It's wonderful knowing that there's a community there who are all focusing on the same type of things. That's one of the beauties of having an online presence, an online business, that we can bring people together from all over the world, all different walks of life, but with that same single focus there where you've got that commonality, which is fabulous. So thank you for sharing that community. And yes, I'll definitely put the details on the podcast page on the website so that people can click straight through and connect with you.
Pleasure.
Well, thank you very much for taking us through this. There was two such definitive different sides that we were twining together, as I was mentioning before. Both your path of moving from that chaos to calm, and then we see that reflected in the type of work that you do with women who are so busy looking after everybody else that we can often describe our lives as pretty chaotic. But with your intervention and helping us reprioritize ourselves, then we can bring some more of that calmness and results into our lives. So thank you so much for your time here.
Thank you, Angela, for having me.
You're really welcome. And for you who are listening, thank you for spending your time with us today. I hope that this conversation has opened up a new train of thought in your own mind about how you can take yourself from chaos to calm, whether that be in life itself or in a way that you're approaching your business. And Caroline has really shared for us the importance of the mindset piece, how everything hangs off that. And if we can leave you with that vision of, if you're standing in your own way, if you are the roadblock to creating and that life and business that you really desire, if you're listening to how other people say that it should be and that's not resonating with you, then those are two things that you can start to change right now. Because as we've heard today, change doesn't have to be difficult. You can let go of that story and just make the choices that make moving forward far, far easier for you. So I issue that gentle challenge to start making those changes today. And thank you so much for spending your time with us on the Your Next Chapter podcast. And I'll see you on the next episode. This is Angela Rasmus saying goodbye for now, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for listening to the Your Next Chapter podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, please let me know. Pop over to angelarasmus.com to subscribe to the show and leave a review. And whilst you're there, you can also enjoy valuable free resources, including show notes and downloads, along with the Next Chapter community, where you can connect with other wholehearted women on the same journey as you. We'd love to welcome and support you as your next chapter unfolds. See you next time.